Here we go, episode 20. Welcome everybody back to the Blade Dive. I am your host, Parker Bohan. As always, I'm excited to have you tuned in. And man, it's believable that we've made it to episode 20, but it didn't come without the help from you, the listener. I'm so grateful you're tuned in. So for that, man, cheers. If you are tuning in for the first time, thanks for stopping by. Subscribe to the podcast. If you like what you're hearing too, be sure to leave us a review. If you want to know how you can continue to support the Blade Dive, you can follow us on social media at the Blade Dive. And if you're anywhere in the world operating and you want to share your photos, tag us using the hashtag the Blade Dive or our handle at the Blade Dive. Okay, my guest today is Adam Mahler, and Adam is the mount manager of Trollhaugen in Wisconsin, and Troll's a big deal. So if you don't know where Trollhaugen is or what they're all about, just go do a quick Google search, message us, let us know what you come up with for search results, because this place has been a powerhouse for progressing the snow industry, whether it's operations or terrain parks or snowboarding, whatever it is. It's been pretty cool to watch. Adam is a product of the trade schools, and we weigh in on trade schools versus universities. And certified welder, dabbled in solar, working towards his electrical cert. The man knows a lot, and the dude is humble. Says he's not any good at talking about himself, but he talks for a lengthy period of time on this podcast, so shout out to Adam. This episode is a deep dive into identifying operational needs versus wants, as well as operating on a lean budget and making magic happen. Lots of laughs in this episode, so I'm excited for you to hear the stories. If you're at home right now, grab your favorite drink, kick your feet up, and if you're in the machine anywhere in the world, Southern Hemisphere, turn up the volume.
Be good and give it the juice. Already.
Welcome everybody back to the virtual booth, the Blade Dive virtual booth, that is. Oh man, I'm excited about today's conversation because we're covering some Midwest territory, which is dope. Midwest in the North America world, Wisconsin specifically. Trollhaugen is the resort, and Adam Mahler is the individual. If you don't know, Adam's an OG with how he's contributed to Troll, and he is all about supporting his team to continue to make that magic happen there. So without further ado, Adam, welcome to the Blade Dive, man. I'm honored to have you on the show.
Hey, this is crazy. I never would have thought I'd be here. Happy to be here. Honored. Thanks for having me.
Oh, dude, it goes both ways, man. Humbled for sure. Yeah, so I'm excited to dive into this. Really quick before we go any further, I would like to thank our sponsor, Prenoth. They support this podcast, and a lot of what I do would not be possible without their support. So a huge thank you to them. Make sure you message them and let them know that you're stoked that they back the Blade Dive. One of the coolest parts of producing the show has been creating the special guest question, and we've had some awesome people contribute to date on previous episodes, and it's a great way to kind of kick things off as an icebreaker. Funny at times, you know. I mean, I can't pinpoint one moment that's my favorite, but what do you think, man? Started off that way. You cool with that?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go.
All right, let's do it. So without further ado, this special guest question comes from Booty. And Adam, you know Booty. I think you got it, man. I'm not worried about you, but I'll play it for you now. Here we go.
Blade Dive. The special guest question for Adam Mahler, Minnow, or 3M is going to be, I would like to know what has been the biggest pickle you have found yourself in as mountain manager at Trollhaugen. A couple quick ones for you that I can think of off the top of my head would be you fixing a hole in a snowmaking line, ankle to knee deep in water trying to weld and grind the old snowmaking line. I can think of you figuring out how to fix a tow rope motor hours before Eric Leone's event. And those are two that I can just really think up off the top of my head right now. But that's, I think, a pretty good one. So let's hear what you got to say about that. Nextly, think everybody would like to know what your average golf, bowling, and archery scores are. All right, Blood Dive. You guys enjoy these answers. Mahler, good luck with the rest of the interview. Don't choke on anything. And we'll see you at work tomorrow, bud. Later.
Was he listening to Talking Heads in the background?
Yeah, he was. He was. That makes sense. Booty. Oh man, I love that guy. He is just. If I didn't have him, I don't know what I'd be doing. Like, he is just a rock solid dude, friend, employee, everything. Like, guy rules. But back to the question, man, biggest pickle at Trollhaugen. There's been a few in the short term that I've had in the position I'm in right now. I'll go on the old Eric Leon's event, Core, which is one of the coolest events I've ever been a part. So we were having this rail jam on Tomtebakken, which is this short rope tow. It just a setup, everyone comes out, rides, has fun, raise money for his foundation. And I swear to God, it was like 3 hours prior the rope broke down. Like the motor. Yeah.
That's heavy.
I'm like, what do we do? Like it was making this crazy noise. Finally I was just like, Eric, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like the motor is toast. Like I don't know. So he was bummed. He was just like, well, and then Eric is such a nice guy. He was just like, well, we'll make it work. We could make him hike. It's no big deal. We'll make it work. And I could tell, like, he was like bumming hard. I was bummed. We were all bummed, and so I went up and started taking stuff apart just to see like what was really going on. And it's like the backwoods fix was what fixed it. It's kind of funny. So the shaft of the motor it had the pulley on the end. The keyway walked itself out, and what had happened is the tension on the belts for the motor to like the drive shaft for the rope tow kind of was holding the pulley still on the shaft, but what it was doing was allowing it to like oval itself out on the inside. And so what I did was I learned that NOS energy drink cans are thicker than Monster energy drink pop cans. And so what I ended up doing was I ended up cutting like it wasn't like a big gap, but enough to make like this crazy noise. It wasn't working right. I put the keyway back in and I cut strips of pop can out of like these 3 different kinds of pops or energy drinks and like slid them in as shims and just kept pushing them in until it was like tight enough. And I cranked down that on that keyway to keep that pulley in place, and believe it or not, it worked.
Oh, it's awesome.
It made it through the event, and I want to say it probably made it like, God, almost halfway through the winter, because his event was early December. And what finally ended up happening to that motor was it ended up burning up down the line, and the pop can survived.
Damn. Oh my God. So are you guys sponsored by NOS now as a mountain? I mean,
no.
Jesus.
I was just digging through the garbage. I'm like, I don't know what to use. Like all the steel or aluminum that we had on the shelf in the shop for like just stock was too thick or wasn't going to work. And I was just like, well, let's try some pop cans. And I cut some strips and threw them in, and it worked.
Man, I want to shout out to NOS for making aluminum cans that fix a tow rope motor. That's the shit, dude.
What's funny is I had like others, like I had multiple strips from each can, and I was just like, all right, this one fits. All right. Oh, 2 NOS cans is too thick. Can't do that. So I pulled that out, put in a Monster can, or whatever, like it was when I got done and I turned that rope on, I was like, there's no way.
Well, I mean, I have to laugh because I know like Red Bull's probably listening going, well, we got to bring this guy a case and a cooler and like
here's our
your
extra sturdy cans.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Here's your beefy cans.
Wild.
Dude, what a story. I will say this. It was really, I try my best to do my due diligence, and including the guest, as well as doing my own research on who I plan to speak with or who the guest maybe wants me to speak with. But it was a pleasure catching up with Booty. I felt like we could talk for hours. I mean,
oh yeah.
I really feel like we could have talked for hours. And so it was cool catching up with him and getting his insight, because I know he's got a ton of stories. You guys working together. But that's really, I mean, you got to know what you're working with there, because if you're sitting down, I mean, it's a heavy situation. Like if you're sitting down trying to crack that motor up and going, well, I got to look at this piston or figure this, but instead you were going, what can I do to fix this in 5 minutes,
I think the best part about that whole thing was when I called Eric, or I ran into him, I'm like, the rope's running, and you could just see the relief in his face. He was just like, oh, thank God. Like, because this was his first event. Like,
oh wow,
this was the flagship, like, core event for it, and he was just bummed. And then once I told him that it was working, he was just like, wow, relieved. It was great. Mad respect to Eric, like, and Booty.
Yeah, mad respect. What was he talking about with the snowmaking can, snowmaking line, whatever that repair was? What was he talking about there?
So there's a couple. Actually, this winter was a rough one on the snowmaking lines. Right off the bat, we had a leak. A rock had worked its way through the wall of the pipe, so I had to climb under or dig a big hole and find it, and water everywhere, and just not ideal. And trying to weld wet pipe is just not fun. But I think another one going off of the snowmaking line would be, so we have a well at the bottom of our hill that we pump water to the top to fill our snowmaking ponds. And then from the ponds, we draw the water out to our lines to the snow guns. And it's an aluminum irrigation line. It's 7-inch pipe. So it's very oddball size, like can't just go to the shop and find it. And we had a tree break in a windstorm we had, and it smashed the line that was above ground. And I was just like, I don't know what to do. Like I can't find this pipe anywhere. We're making snow. Our ponds are starting to get low. Like, I need to get this well running. So I ended up pulling this pipe into the piece. Like, there's like a 10-foot chunk. Brought it into the shop. It's like 8:00 at night. We're open. I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, I got to figure this out. So I ended up like straightening this piece of pipe with like an Enerpac ram, trying to get it to like get apart. I mean, it was kinked. I was just like, this isn't going to work. And luckily I got it in there and welded it all up. And thank God I had an aluminum welder, because we didn't have one for years. And luckily management allowed me to purchase some equipment. So, which was great. But it saved the day, and we got it running and got the wells running and the ponds filled, and didn't have to shut the snowmaking down, which in the Midwest, if you got to shut your snowmaking down in the months of November and December, something's not right.
Heavy. Now, wait, was that the picture that you sent me of that pipe?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
So real quick for everybody listening, that thing was hammered. I mean, we're talking like maybe even irreplaceable, irreparable. I don't know, but it was at the point to where it's like, well, we don't have any money to spend on jibs, so maybe we can turn it into a feature. I don't know.
That thing was like on the cusp of just getting thrown in the scrap bin. Like, it was bad. I mean, we tried PVC and Fernco's, and I was just like, this isn't gonna. We'll see what happens, and it blew the Fernco's right off. And I was just like, well, looks like I'm straightening out a piece of aluminum pipe and making it work.
MacGyver. Real quick, shout out to Booty again for contributing.
Yeah, thank you, Booty.
That was rad. And I think he's a rock star of a dude, but I think it goes without saying, you have done a really good job of building an incredible team. Yeah, it's true though. Like, you have,
Oh, the best team, for sure.
And I want to get into them, but I also want to talk about you. But before we jump towards that chronological story, I want to expand on what we were just kind of making light of, and that was the problem solving that you were, I feel like you're great at. And that has come from a little bit of who you are, but also with the knowledge you've gained from being a journeyman and having a career as a certified welder, um, doing solar installations, and you're working towards an electrical certification. I mean, knowing all those things are huge, but I think the kicker and the positive is that when you were doing all that stuff, there was just, I mean, all the people that I've talked to in the past who are doing that type of work, the workflow is just there. It's like a faucet. You never really can turn it off. It's just always available. You can choose how much you want to work. And I just think that's cool. So maybe expand on that. Your experience kind of maybe starting out at Troll, but then realizing that you were passionate about welding and seeing that as a sustainable future for workflow.
I mean, so I guess, I don't know, if you go way back when so I'm 34 years old now, I do the math. I was 15. Yeah. So 19 years ago, I was 15, I started working at Trollhaugen. I worked at Trollhaugen, like rental shop, instructing, worked in the kitchen, snowboard instructing. I pretty much did everything but worked in the lift department, and I mean, besides like grooming or operating, snowmaking, stuff like that, because I wasn't old enough. But when I was working in the rental shop, my now GM, Jim Rochford Jr., Jimmy, he was like, "You don't need to go to school." I'm like, "I have to go to school. I have to go to school." Like, that was always like in my mind, like I needed to go to college, you know. But I didn't know what I wanted to go for. So I ended up taking a liking to welding, you know, and that was started with like working in the shop at Trollhaugen, building rails, shop class at school. And I ended up going to a technical college in the area for welding, got my certifications for, I don't know them off the top of my head, but ended up doing that. And I had a job like the day after I graduated college, you know, like it was no issue. And then did that for a few years, and got into solar and the electrical side of things. And I mean, there was always work. It was just nonstop. Like there was never never not anything to do, you know. Now working at Troll and getting this job here, I don't really like, it's like, yeah, I want to go to work. I mean, yeah, I guess there isn't that loathing, like, oh, I gotta go to work today, you know, like it's never really a bad day.
Yeah, the shoe fits. You know, you're applying what you've learned, and it's a great fit for where you are currently in your career. So, but I wanted to highlight that because we've got, you know, a whole group of people who have gone on to higher education, some form, non-trade school.
Right.
And then we've got the trade school people who have pursued the welding certifications. And no disrespect to either individual, but, you know, getting your hands dirty, learning on the job site, super important. Obviously, we're preaching safety here. We don't want to fry electrical outlets and fingers, but if you're pursuing the electrical thing. But I was catching up with somebody the other day, and we were discussing work that you can bring into the snow industry world, or work that you can take outside from, with either you've learned within the industry or through a schooling situation, and how that skill, I guess, really applies to so much more in life than the snow world.
100%. When you think about it, the snow industry, like skiing and snowboarding, it's not forever. You know, like, you know, you could have, like, your resort could have a bad season and be like, oh, we got to lay people off or we got to shut down. Well, then what? You know, like it's like having that skill set prior, like prepares you for like, what if, you know? believe me, I don't want to leave by no means. I don't want, I love my job. If I could work here for the rest of my life or in the position I'm in, or whether it's at Trollhaugen or somewhere else, like I want to be there. But there's always that like, what if, and I don't know if that's just me being paranoid or what, but having a skill set to take on with you into the future for other things will, I think, makes your life easier. I don't know.
No, yeah, I would agree. And, I'm just going to go ahead and speak for everybody at Troll that I've talked to. They like you. So I think they're going to keep
I
you
hope
around.
so.
Yeah. Well, you know the deal on the Blade Dive. We take some time to get to know the guest by having you tell us a little bit more of your story. So, however far you want to take it, deep you want to take it, how much snow you want to curl. But
Right.
I think everybody listening right now wants to know how much ever you're willing to divulge. Adam Mahler, growing up as you, paint that picture, man.
Oh man, well, it started in 1987. The year I was born.
Perfect. Start from the beginning.
So I grew up in this town, Osceola, Wisconsin. It's about 8 minutes from Dresser, which is where Trollhaugen is. Had the best parents. Mom and dad were great. I think what kind of got me into the trades and like the cool, like I think they're cool, but like electrical and how it works and all that stuff would be from like my dad. He built computers, programmed stuff like that. And then my mom she's just awesome, just a sweetheart. Couldn't ask for a better mom or dad. And then I don't know, like high school. I was like every middle school kid or young kid, played baseball, flag football, stuff like that. Growing up, and then in high school, I realized that I wasn't really big enough to play football, so I became a runner and ran cross country and track in high school for all 4 years, and then probably started snowboarding when I was about 12, I should say. Not to go out of order, but started snowboarding at Trollhaugen. The first time I ever went to Trollhaugen was with a school group skiing, and I skied like 2 or 3 times, and then I saw a snowboard for the first time, and I was just like, I have to go snowboarding. Like, this is amazing. Pretty much, I don't know. It was like anytime I could get the chance to like beg my parents, be like, can I go snowboarding? Can I go with this person? Like, money wasn't a huge, wasn't like just flowing out of the pockets. And I mean, we all know skiing and snowboarding is expensive, and they helped me get out there as best they could, which is grateful. And I mean, now I work there full time for a job. Like, my mom always tells me this story, like when I got my first job at Trollhaugen in the rental shop, like after my first day, she picked me up and she was just like, well, how was your first day? And I'm like, I want to work here for forever. And I was just like, I don't remember saying that, but like she always reminds me of that. And I'm like, well, that's kind of crazy because look at us now.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean, just saying like that, whether it's creepy or crazy or not, one or the other, that's the dream. Let's support it,
Right. And no, and then I snowboarded. I worked at Troll in the winter. Had a lot of odds and end jobs. I always had a job. This is a small town, so it's like you got the grocery store, the hardware store. I mean, when you were 14, 15 years old, the options were thin. You work at Dairy Queen, but for some reason there was this weird stigma of the Dairy Queen in Osceola, like sketchy. And my parents are like, nope, you're not working there. I'm like, all right,
What?
whatever.
You just wanted your free ice cream. Come on.
I know, right? But they were worried about other things.
Let me get my dipped cone. Come on.
Put more Reese's in my Blizzard. No, but no, I worked at the grocery store.
Sick.
It kind of bummed me out. Like
Did
when
it really?
I walked in there and well, no, not working there bummed me out. It was like the fact that like they're like, oh, you're too small to be a stocker. Like I couldn't go and like stock the shelves because I wasn't big enough. I was just like, wow, thanks guys. Like, And so I worked cashier for that for a while, and then I was a runner, ran. God, I was thinking about this the other day because I'm out of shape. I need to get back into it, and it's just like I should start running. And then I'm like, man, how many miles did I run back in high school? And I was like trying to think of it, and it was like 700 or 800 miles a season. I was just like, nope, I'm not going to do that,
dude. I feel like I feel like that's maybe an unrealistic expectation of yourself. Because I mean, like, what, you're 34, I'm 37, yeah. So if I was going to make decisions on trying to get healthier, daily decisions on getting healthier, I would make decisions like, well, I'm not going to have popcorn for lunch today.
I'm going to watch what I'm eating.
I'm going to have a salad for lunch today. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's fun. God, that's funny. No, you're 100% spot on, Parker. It's very accurate. Booty and I tried training for a marathon once, and
very cool.
Like maybe that's doable. We might dabble in that again, but like, man, if I'm getting to that point where
I'll make this promise right now. If you run a marathon, we will come up with the coolest blade dive uniforms that you could rock.
Are they skin tight?
Yeah, we'll get the colorway all dialed. We'll do a Trollhaugen collab, spandex, the whole works. Maybe do a full bodysuit. It'll be sick. It'll be fun.
All right.
Yeah,
all
you're gonna
God.
have to.
I don't know.
Well, 26
miles. That's a long time. That's a long way.
Yes. Well, I have mad respect. I have no interest in doing that. I'd rather put my knees through 8 hours of fishing standing than do that. Yeah, than do that. So,
no, 100%.
I would think there would have to have been at some point in time where you were exposed to equipment, whether that was early on. Mm-hmm. Or later on in life. And I mean, I guess the equipment can even be the computers your dad was building and working on. I mean, it can transition, I guess, technology. But I'd be curious to know equipment, larger equipment, smaller equipment, whatever it was. Was that a part of your life early on or no?
Right. Oh, I mean, I was the sandbox kid growing up. I was always in it, and like building stuff, Legos, like when I was younger. And I still have the Tupperware Rubbermaid of the Legos that I had when I was 5, like it's sweet. Like Kate, my fiance, if I had them at the house right now, I think they're at my parents'. If I had them at my house, I'd probably pull them out and play with them. And she'd just be like, what is wrong with you? But no, anyways, no, like my mom's side of the family, my grandpa, he was, actually both sides of the family, they were farmers, out in North Dakota. And when we were younger kids, like going out there to visit, like grandpa's always in the field in the tractors. So we were always around tractors, always out in the combine with them. That was like the best part of the trip out west or out to North Dakota from here was, I get to go on a combine ride with grandpa, like that was always awesome. And then my grandma, my dad's mom, she's actually the one that taught me how to like drive a vehicle. So like I'm 12 years old, 11 years old, driving this 74 Chevy 1500, or I think, but back then they built trucks like how they should be built, and stick shift, four speed, no power steering, and I'm this like 90-pound kid soaking wet trying to turn this truck down the road, and luckily in North Dakota everything's straight, so I had that going for me. But yeah, no, I was around my fair share of equipment. It really didn't get into operating as much until I got to like started doing park crew stuff with Trollhaugen, like around 16, 17 years old. And riding in the snowcats and along, when we were building parks, or just even just riding along, grooming and whatnot. And not a ton of it, but that really didn't come until I'd say 8 years ago, 10 years ago.
Wow. Personally, I'm kind of jealous you've been around a combine. Well, and
I mean, they're pretty cool.
Dude, they are. They're huge. And I just think that's a whole different world.
Right.
Yeah, it's a whole different world of equipment that
Yeah.
it's not just they're not just driving that thing. There's an objective.
Well, what's kind of cool too, or what's I think is cool, is my first job out of college welding was building harvesters and like building. I worked for this company called Oxbow, and they built like specialty combines, like fresh stuff. I built an orange harvester.
Wow.
I shouldn't say I built it, but like
Well, you were part of
I
building it.
yeah, like
Yeah.
yeah, and we were building header like pea harvesters and corn harvesters, like all fresh market stuff, and stuff that gets harvested and sent to like get canned, and so I was around that equipment a lot, working on them and building, welding the parts for them. And I never really actually thought of that until you brought that up. But yeah, no, that was another part, when I was 20, 19, 20 years old, welding on these things. Like, yeah, it was around equipment like every day of my life.
Well, yeah, okay. So I'm going to pivot really big time here.
Mm-hmm.
Was farming and the equipment there ever an interest for a career? I gotta ask, because that gig seems dope. I mean, that seems like an awesome
To be
opportunity.
in farming?
Yeah.
No, it was always no, not really. I don't know if I could do it. That's
Fair enough.
That's a lot of time. I like to move around. I can't sit still. I honestly like going back out to the farm, like the family farm in North Dakota and stuff. It's pretty peaceful. It's really cool. I mean, if you haven't seen a North Dakota sunset yet, you're missing out.
Yes. So the two best sunrises I have ever seen are Australia and South Dakota.
Yep.
Yeah, incredible sunsets.
I've never been to Australia, but yeah, I can vouch for the Dakotas for sure.
Yeah, such a cool experience witnessing all of that. Those are moments in life I'll never forget for sure. But I do want to move along.
Mm-hmm.
However, I could talk about farming equipment forever because I don't know anything about it. but Trollhaugen is a magical place, man. And you kind of touched on your past there, which brings me to my next question. Yeah. You and I talking offline, my perception of what you're doing now is that you kind of were boomeranged back to Troll. You started there and you ended up there later on. But I got to ask, was the role that you're in right now where you saw yourself being in the future? I mean, if you were trying to predict it.
Absolutely not.
Like, 10-4.
Like I had no idea. I mean, going back to the story of like my now GM, Jimmy, he it was a joke. Like he by any means, like when I was telling him like I need to go to college, he was just like joking. He was like, no, you can just work for me for forever. You can work for me for forever. And I'm like, no, like I have to go to school. Well, so I went to college, built my career in the trades, with welding and electrical and solar. And the opportunity, I still worked at Trollhaugen part-time in the winter, with the terrain parks. That was like from when I was 16, like that was huge, staying with it, building features, staying out, coming in at closing time at the hill, and then building a park for the next day or an event for the next day. Like that was always there. But 3-4 years ago, it's been this is my fourth summer. Getting that phone call, or even just like Jimmy and Laura, Laura's Jimmy's wife, and co-owner of Trollhaugen, she was just like, you should put your resume in. And I was just like, resume for what? And she's just like, well, for the mountain manager job. And I was just like, wait, Rusty's leaving? Like Rusty is was the previous mountain manager, and he'd been there for 38 years. And I was just like, you're kidding, right? And they're like, no, you should get your resume in. And I was like, oh crap. So I scrambled and got my resume in, and yeah, here we are. Like I fortunately got the job, and I was just no, like when you sent me like, or just thinking of like asking this question, like, no, I never would have thought that I'd be back where I am at now. I always thought I'd just be wiring houses or welding, not working at a ski hill.
Well, maybe, and I'll rewind here too, because what does it look like for Adam Mahler to write the resume at a place he's worked before? You know what I mean? Well, I ask. I ask because I'm sure it's new territory. Except we have talked about it. I take that back. We have. Harmony Johnson really went into detail in her episode, and I thought it was dope. This is different because you've worked for this place for a period of time, and you're pursuing an opportunity. I'm being 20 questions. But for everybody that's listening, producing something like that is not easy. It's quite difficult.
That's a tough question, Parker. I mean, I hate talking about myself. Like, I'm never comfortable doing it.
Well, you've made it through the podcast so far.
I know, right?
So
we are.
Here we are. Well done.
No, I just had to sit down and just be like, okay, like this is what I've done for the last 10, 12 years. And this is what I've accomplished. And then like, this is, cover letters, I feel like are so like not, I don't want to say fake, but like you almost just talk yourself up, which is the point of the cover letter, like,
dude, but it's a good point though.
Like you got to talk yourself up. And, I have a passion for what I do. I'm not here to cut corners. I want to make sure stuff is done right, timely fashion. And then also like making sure that everyone else stays on task. And that's just, I honestly can't even remember what I wrote in that letter because it was always such a blur, Like you got to be truthful, but you can't fake it either, because it'll show. Like
most definitely,
you get the job and it's just like, well, you said you could do this. Well, if you don't do that, then were you lying to us? Like honesty's huge. I'm okay with being a jack of all trades and master of none. It's because if you're a master of something and you fuck something up, then you're not a master anymore.
Ooh, deep blade dive thoughts by Adam Mahler.
You got to learn how to fail, and that's huge. I mean, and that's the one thing that like I'm very fortunate with where I work at and with the management of that I have is they're okay with it. Obviously you don't want to like waste a bunch of money, like that's not how you run a business, but like, hey, I want to try this, and there is a chance that this could happen. It could work great or it fails miserably, and if it does, you just got to swallow your pride. And if it does fail, you got to swallow your pride and move on and learn from it,
Yeah. Well, and here's maybe this is a rabbit hole question. I don't know, but it's a deep blade dive. You're like, Parker, dude, what are you doing to me?
Let's go.
Well, I think along the lines of what you're talking about there with respect to decision making, you don't want to spend a whole bunch of money. You want things to make sense for how you're operating. But identifying needs versus wants, and maybe if a need really is more a want than it is a necessity. So like, for example, you're at a resort, you're operating under the constraints that you have for a budget and everything else that's around you. And let's say you want this versus that. Maybe it's a piece of equipment, maybe it's something different, but you could essentially apply all those dollars and cents towards so many different things. Employee wages, for crying out loud, snowmaking, F&B, new features for the park, marketing efforts, snow removal, lifts. I'm missing so many. But it's really, I know that there's, I guess it's always been interesting to me how people have prioritized those things, whether they're a want or a need, or if they've ever struggled identifying the difference between the two. It's an interesting topic more interesting to see it play out. I think some people may call it like stepping over a dime to spend a dollar. It's just it's a difficult topic, man.
That's tough because it like the thing is, it's just like you can sit and say like I need this. Well, is that need a want? You know, and I guess the route that I take when it comes to deciding that, you know, it's just okay. I need, like, for example, this welder. I just bought this portable welder last year. Because the one that we had was built before I was even born. It hardly ran. It was a pain in the butt, you know. And then I was just like, all these add-ons to it. I was just like, well, what does this benefit? How does this work? How does this help? You know, like, well, we don't have an aluminum welder. Our main fill line that goes up the hill is aluminum. If that breaks, which it did, we don't have a way to weld it. We don't have a way to fix it, you know. And I try to like differentiate with what all the like the pros of having this piece of equipment or the pros of needing more rental. I mean, I don't deal with rentals, like I'm strictly all the outdoor stuff, but like when it comes to buying equipment for outside, you know, it's just like, hey, we got this big expansion we're doing with two new lifts and new trails and stuff. I'm like, we need an excavator. You know, we need a piece of equipment that can grub stumps, it can move logs, it can dig trenches for snowmaking pipe, you know. And like, as that list, if that list of like what it can be used for is larger than what it might not be, if I mean, you can argue that point, but like as long as that list of the pros and what it can be used for like exceeds what the cons are, I think is kind of how I go about doing things. And then I can go with that information to, you know, the upper management and say like, hey, like I need this excavator because we need it for this, 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 and this. And then as long as that machine's running and getting used, they're happy, you know. And but then again, you go, I want to go in and buy a $450,000 snowcat, you know. It's
yeah, obviously
it's a little tougher, you know,
for
like,
sure.
You know, I need a new Park Pro. Well, what's wrong with the one we have now? You know, and it's a tough sell.
Oh yeah, it is.
You know?
Well, I'm bringing it up because obviously I'm seeing what's possible through your crew's efforts at Troll, and you're being yourselves, and that's what's so dope about the bigger picture. Okay, but at the end of the day, I think from anybody that's watching media creation, you start to kind of go, well, all right, I'm going to compare what I'm doing to how they're doing it. And then you begin to wonder, well, if they can do it, why can't we do it? And that's just like, you know, always leaves me wondering why comparison, you know, like it's the biggest stealer of joy. But you know, like a resort's operation footprint is not a one size fits all across the world, you know?
No, 100%. You gotta make whatever you have work.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what situation you're in. You know, it's the only way to do it. You know, it's not this cookie cutter corporate, you know, thing. Like, we run definitely at a different beat than anyone else does. I mean, I'm sure it's the same everywhere else. You know, it's like you try to spend the least amount of money and get the same, you know, get the best quality of whatever you're working with or on, with what you've got. You know, like you can't overextend yourself either. I kind of rambled there.
No, I think that's how the brand's built, man. You be you do you. And I think that's that's where places are the most successful. When they try to push out messages that don't make sense because they don't understand their customer, like we've talked about before, that's where things go sideways. Adam, I do have another special guest question for you. I want to jump into that. Again, like it's been awesome producing these and having people be involved. So shout out to our next guest, which is Crush. And Crush is actually in the middle of nowhere in Idaho, probably producing something incredibly badass that we'll all drool over the content and go, holy cow.
Probably.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
don't know. Impress me, Crush.
Oh man, he's giving you a hard time, Crush.
Oh yeah, always.
Oh man. Well, Crush has texted me his question, and he says, Adam, collectively, how many hours of Hootie and the Blowfish do you think you have listened to in a season at Troll? And he says he's putting the over and under at 40 hours. He says, hope you're doing good, amigo. Don't mess up on your interview, and fingers crossed we get to team up soon and put back a few of the best Bloody Marys in the game. He goes on to text and say, hashtag Go Hawks.
So every time Crush has been out to Trollhaugen, I swear to God, we're walking out on the hill, and there's a Hootie and the Blowfish song playing. And then we're walking off the hill, there's a Hootie and the Blowfish song playing on the radio. And I mean, I swear every time. It's like clockwork. It's crazy. So I'm gonna say his over and under 40 is pretty accurate. 40 hours a year.
Nice. 40 hours. So what's the other song they got?
Yeah.
I can't remember the other song. What's the other song they got?
Time. Yeah, that one's on a lot. It's insane. Yeah.
Well,
that's so funny.
Well, dude, I tell you what's trippy is that I even remember the name of the album, Cracked Rear View.
Yeah, I don't know that.
Well,
I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't a huge Hootie and the Blowfish fan, and I'm really not now.
Everybody on the podcast is like, Bohan is such a tool because he listened to Hootie and the Blowfish.
Hey, I mean, you gotta do what you like, you know. Like if you like Hootie, whatever, you know.
Yeah. But I mean, 40 hours, dude.
Yeah, it's a lot, man.
That's a lot.
It's insane.
Sure.
It's kind of funny every time I do hear it on the radio. I always I'll take an Instagram video of the speaker, and then I send it to him, and it doesn't fail. He gets so mad at me.
Oh man. I don't know. I think I'd be okay with listening to 40 hours of Hootie and the Blowfish during the season. And well, really quick, talk about what is he talking about with the Bloody Marys?
Ooh,
yeah.
So Trollhaugen's got like one of the best Bloody Marys. If you don't know what a Bloody Mary is, it's tomato juice with a bunch of seasonings and vodka and ice with pickles and olives and beef sticks and cheese, and they're outrageous. But Trollhaugen has one of the best bloodies that I've ever had, and you got to have one when you're there. Like Crush gets one every time, and for you Canadian folk, it's probably called a Caesar up there. Don't quote me on that, but they're good. They're really good bloodies.
I did not know that. That is really cool that Troll is known for Bloody Marys.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, world famous. Let's call it that. Also excited that Crush is a big fan of Hootie and the Blowfish. So Crush, shout out for contributing to the podcast. Stoked you like Hootie.
Me too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Crush. Love you, bud.
Oh man. Well, moving right along, I would be very interested in.
How do you go from that question to something else? Sorry.
Oh, I don't know. I think you just kind of have to just.
It is.
Take a deep breath.
All right, Parker, use your podcast superpowers. Let's go.
Oh man, I didn't know I had superpowers. Along the lines of time, and we've hit kind of the workflow with respect to a trade skill and having that come in constantly. We have talked about curating your experience on a cover letter and how sometimes bullshitting that is not a good idea. But I would say with respect to time and Hootie, a university or college is a huge time suck, and there are shorter time periods for an option to develop a trade. Maybe, I'm not sure, but I would want your weigh in on time for a trade or a degree. What do you got?
Obviously, I'm a product of the trades. I do welding, electrical, all that jazz. I mean, it can go on. And I mean, I guess the best example that I can put out is like, I know I didn't want to go to a 4-year college, and I went to trade school. I got my welding certifications. I got my technical diploma, whatever you want to call it, in welding. And I did that I worked at a manufacturing plant. I worked for a water tower company. I built water towers for 3 years. And after that, I don't know if I want to keep doing this. Like, it was traveling all the time. I was on the road. Like, it's tough. Like, it's like I said, like, there are people for the trades and there are people for the 4-year universities. We need both. But if you are conflicted in what you want to do, like, just get a trade, learn how to build a house, you know what I'm saying? Like, because you could fall back onto that anytime and then pursue different avenues. And then going back to I did the welding thing, I got into solar, I did the electrical thing, and now I'm here. Like, obviously the Midwest mountain manager is a little bit different than out west or the big resort corporation mountain managers,
I would disagree, but that's just my opinion.
I mean I don't know, I've never experienced the big corporation mountain manager gig. I've talked to Elijah a bunch, Elijah Hamilton, and he had very similar position as me, a lot more going on, a lot more resorts to deal with, and a lot more people, and he was still hands-on. I was always just afraid, I always just asked this question, would you go work somewhere else like that? And I'd be like, I don't know if I could. If I could have the same freedoms I have now, where I'm not sitting behind a desk, I could go run a cat, I could go build a jump, I could go weld something, then yeah, I would totally do it. But that's just because I don't have that experience with a bigger resort like that, not to get off subject, but I just feel like you can have a trade and take it anywhere you want to go. And I'm I'm a prime example of that. Shouldn't say perfect. I'm a prime example of that.
Dude, well, I'm gonna pivot again and throw another special guest question at you. Yeah. Jeremy Cooper is our next special guest question. I don't know exactly what he's talking about, so I'll let you elaborate. I will go ahead and play that for you now. Here we go.
Adam Mahler, this is Jeremy Cooper. I got 2 questions for you, bud. Do you think Elmer and NATO are up to the task of filling the bucket the way Sundance can fill up a bucket? And the second question being, you spent many years welding up water tanks and water towers, etc. Have you ever thought about incorporating some of those skills and some of those features and parts of those water tanks into the parks? Because I certainly have thought about that for years, and wondered with your connects from your old job if that's a possibility we could look forward to in the future. Hey, looking forward to catching up with you soon, bud. Take care.
Man, Cooper's the man. So, no, I don't think NATO and Elmer, those are my 2 dogs. They're Tornado is a black lab wiener dog.
Awesome.
And Elmer is a wiener dog, corgi, beagle. I don't know. They're both rescues. They're the greatest dogs ever. But and by what Cooper means about filling a bucket is so Cooper came out here with his dog Sundance, and we were in the backyard, and they had this flower pot. Just there was nothing in it, just some dirt out in the yard. And we look over, and Sundance is taking a dump in the bucket. I had never seen anything like that in my life. I looked at Jeremy. I was like, "What is he doing?" He's like, "Oh, he does that. What? That's just his thing. That's his thing. Sundance, Cooper's dog, Sundance poops on things." And I'm like, I was just baffled. I don't even think I could get any. I don't even know if a human could do it as accurate as that dog did.
I can't stop laughing.
And of course, NATO and Elmer are wiener dogs, so they got the short legs of the deal.
Oh my gosh.
And they're not pooping on any buckets, that's for sure. God.
Oh, oh
I was
man.
waiting for it, Coop. I was waiting for it.
Dude. Oh, I couldn't keep it together there. Cooper. Dog with skills in the bucket, man. That's impressive. I do gotta ask though, what does the cup holder and the snowcat do for Sundance?
Oh man, he'd drain it.
I think he would
He'd
too.
fill it.
I think he would
And it'd
too.
get nice and hot. Oh man.
Oh man, Cooper.
Poop jokes never get
Jeremy
old.
Cooper. No, they don't. It's good to laugh. That was a good one. Oh my god.
I'll have to send you a photo of Anado and Elmer so you can get the reference there.
Yeah. Yes. No, definitely. Let's make that happen. But dude, I didn't know what he was talking about.
Oh yeah. No.
Uh,
Oh Lord. What was the second question?
water towers.
Oh, water
towers.
Water towers in snow parks. You know, if I could get a hold of that guy and see when next time they're tearing down a water tower, if I could get some of that steel, because that's a lot of metal, that would be really cool for that. You could make something pretty sweet. I go back. Now that you think of it, like back in like I want to say it was like Chad Otterstrom was like lip sliding like a water holding tank back in like a Trans World mag. I don't know how many years ago, but
Oh yeah, I think I remember. I definitely remember. That was a sick photo.
I think it was Chado.
You know, I will say this: Cooper has done some stuff in the past with satellite dishes, propane tanks, cement mixers. Yeah, and you know, it's it's super creative, but it stands out. You know what I mean? Like it's a great way to be thrifty with a budget too.
I mean, and that kind of goes like kind of where Trollhaugen started, you know, with the terrain parks. Everything that was built out there for the longest time was all recycled stuff. I mean, and I'm sure that's with every resort, you know, old water line, old, you know, hand railings, stuff like that. You know, a lot of it was all in the early years was just recycled material. Like, oh, we could jib that. Oh, that could get thrown out in the park, you know, 100%. So like seeing a water tower out there wouldn't I mean, it'd be sick, but it wouldn't be like, oh yeah, that makes sense, you know?
Yeah, it totally does. And we've talked a lot about kind of the business side
Mhm.
of advocation.
Yep.
But through the ability to be creative with features or how you can fix things, even like you did earlier with the lift, creative thinking, MacGyver / thinking. But what do you think, dude? I think that's a great way also to get creative with new additions to the park. If you're either starting up or you're moving in the direction of wanting to offer some new things to the public.
100%. I mean, yeah, if like that stuff gets played out, we'll set it up differently. You know? Set up like a little skate style plaza, you know, like turn that straight bar perpendicular to the hill, you know, instead of running it parallel. Like do something different with it. Like set something else up, you know, like I feel like that's where the park crew at Trollhaugen really succeeds is like there's so many minds that you know ride the park every day and care about it that they're like, well, what can we do to keep this from getting stale, you know? And if you've just got basic features, like you could I mean, it's snow, you can move it and shape it however you want, you know? And if you're like, oh, we need some new rails, well, what do we got laying out back? Oh, we got 60 feet of old snowmaking pipe. Oh, this one's got some bend to it. All right, well, let's turn it into something, you know? Like you just got to have that like creative mind, and like if it's not just one person, if you got multiple people, like you can make it happen, you know? And it's like Cooper with the propane tanks, and I mean the cement mixer thing. Like, holy crap! I would have never in a million years been like, oh, we should jib that.
Yeah, totally.
Like, like by no means. And it's there. If you've got the right mindset, you can make anything happen with your terrain park. You can, if you're tired of hitting that propane tank how it's set up every time, we'll put a little angle to it, set it up sideways, put something behind it, put something in front of it, like, as long as it's safe to ride, but you don't want people getting hurt in your parks, but you make it as safe as you can, and you just got to add a little spice to it, I guess is where I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, dude, add some flavor to that run. Yep,
gotta have some flavor.
Yep, add some flavor for sure. Well, shout out to Coop. Big thanks for contributing to the podcast once again. Always great to laugh at a Jimmy Cooper story. He's got plenty. Maybe along the lines of flavor, and maybe you call it a secret sauce. I don't know, that you're adding to what you do up there in your operations world, but let's talk about the team for a second, and maybe building upon what you already have, or keep them coming back every year. Just what is your secret there? Because I think it says a lot about somebody's character when they have a team return year after year. I think that's dope. So obviously they love what they do, but let us in on how you maintain that awesome work environment up there.
Be nice to them, but like also be like, you just got to be a good person. I don't know. I don't want to say that I'm a good person. I'm not like, I mean, once again, Midwest talking about myself, but like, just, you got to like set that standard of like, okay, I want to treat you with the respect that I want to be treated with. And like, if you have issues with something, like, you need to bring them to me and we can resolve them, and if it's something like, and I will praise Booty up and down. He is always like, I love having him on the crew because he'll call me out on some bullshit if there's if I'm doing something stupid, or if I'm just, he's like, no, that's stupid. And for me to like take that criticism and be like, okay, yeah, no, I was being an idiot, and then the same with him. Like, if I feel like, nope, like, I don't, no, Booty, you're being dumb or something like that, like, he's also the same way. He doesn't, take it too personal. He doesn't take it personally. He's just like, all right, yep, nope, you're right. Like, there's been many times where both of us have like butted heads on something, or have done something that we shouldn't have done, and we'll both call each other out on it. And I feel like if you can keep adding people like that to your crew, it's going to make you stronger and better in the long run. And I guess, and then same that goes with the parks, where it's just like, hey, well, let's set this up. And then if like a bunch of the park crew guys are like, no, this is whack. Like, no, this isn't going to work. You can't take that to heart. You got to just be like, sit back, think about it, take your 10-minute break, be like, okay, yeah, that was pretty dumb, and being able to use that and feed off of each other, I think helps, you keep everyone involved. It really, really helps make the crew stronger.
Dude, I think that's a great point. I think it's a bit of a secret too. Well, truly, because it's probably difficult for some people to be nice to other people. I guess that's what I'm getting at. And you don't have to be someone that knows it all in order to be nice. Like, that's a backwards way of thinking, in my opinion. I mean, that's me throwing it out there.
Right. No. It's okay to be wrong. And I feel like the people nowadays, I mean, even before my time, our time, whatever, like, I can't be wrong. I always have to be right. And that's just not, I don't think that's healthy. Like,
no, not at all.
Like, yeah, I don't know how to do this. Like, I don't know how many times I've learned this over time. Like, is if I don't know something or know how to do something, I will admit it. I just got to be like, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how this works. But then it's after admitting it, figuring it out, finding the right people that know how to do it, or the right information, or the right stuff. Like that's huge. Like knowing, when you're wrong, if you don't know something, how do I learn? How do I accomplish whatever I'm trying to figure out? And it's after like not knowing what you do after to complete that task or whatever it is.
Well, I think that's super important for you to speak to now, just based on the role you're in, because knowing everything probably would get pretty boring.
But I think also what it does too, it's just like if you can admit to like being in a management position, if you can admit to being wrong about something or not knowing something, and like being upfront with that and like explaining that, like I don't know, like whatever scenario we're in, if you're with upper management like above you, or if you are with your employees, and be like, I don't know how to do that, that might like give the push to like your employees to be like, well, I can figure this out. And then you learn like, oh, they know how to do this, or they figured this out. Like, it's like it's that you're giving them that push to get to that next level. I think if you're, like you're a team, and if as long as like, hey, like this dude knows how to do this, that person's going to be that's going to do it the next time.
Oh yeah, no, that's good.
You learn more about your crew if someone else picks up like, not pick up the slack. I shouldn't, like, you can't say it like that, but you got to be like, picks up the ball and runs with it,
Mm.
and be like, oh, that person's got it, like, and that's coming from like the management. Like there's things that I learn every day, and what this guy, one of like an employee of mine, he knows how to do it. Okay, show me how to do that. But you're going to be the one that does it every now. And I want you to teach the next guy down the line,
Yep.
And I think that's what really, really helps make your crew even better.
Ooh, yeah, wise words from from Adam Mahler. This episode is going to be riddled with special guest questions, and it's a good thing because you've made an impact or worked around so many people. I've got David Sutton as our next special guest, so
All right.
I will play it for you now.
Hey, yo, Parker. Mahler. I know a lot of operators are tuned in, so I'll throw some meat on the table. Trollhaugen might be a smaller resort and skiable acreage, yet Troll is known for doing big things in the park and on the snow. Happenings like the Troll Project and Trolly Bowly, creations that are week-long builds, require a whole of resort commitment. Runs get shut down, CAC commitments mean a lot more fuel and operator time, but Troll keeps coming back each season to push the parks and try new things to get humans on snow. What would you say to the in-cat operators and park crew looking to encourage management to add to the boneyard with new features each year? Push creativity in park builds and reach out to the on-mountain and on-hill community with new attractions built with snow. And what would you say to the owner-operators? Is it all worth the sleepless nights, sweat, and unknowns? Stay frosty, boys.
Damn.
Damn is right, man. That was awesome.
Oh, David. That was, wow. I miss David. I miss you, David. Like, you got to get more than just one department involved. You can't just be like the terrain park manager being like, we want this. This is what we want, that we have to have it. And going back to like before, talking about like when I'm buying equipment or needing a tool or something for the resort, like all the pros versus the cons, like having that list, you kind of got to do the same thing with the terrain parks. It's like, okay, I want to build new features. Well, why? We have features. We have these ones. What's wrong with the ones that we have? Well, we've had them for 5 years. They've been set up the same way. We've set them up differently. Kids aren't having fun. Like having your terrain park crew out there riding, or not riding, but just being out there and seeing what's going on and riding it. Like if they're getting burnt out, the customer's probably getting burnt out. Then you go like, hey, we need some new stuff. We need some more spice. We need some more flavor to this park. So we need to build some new features. And if you can like get that point across, being, you know, to your management, like, hey, I don't care if it's $100. I mean, obviously you can't build a rail for $100. We all know that. But like, I'm going to pull all that junkyard stuff that we have and see what we can make. You know, that's all circling back to the whole like water tower thing in the park, or, you know, propane tanks or cement truck mixers. You know, like, you always have to keep thinking of like what we can do to get new features on the hill that management will be like, okay, yes, we'll allocate those hours to that. We will let you do that. We will get you the materials you need to finish this or start this. And you just got to show them the benefit of it. Like, if it means like dragging your GM out onto the hill, being like, look, it's a Saturday afternoon. It's gorgeous out. No one's riding our park. Like, this, we could do something different here. You know, I mean, there's days where it's so busy in our parks at Troll, where it's like, not bragging, but like, I don't even want to board because it's too busy. You know, and that's a good problem to have.
Yeah, well, and to David's point, like, it's all about getting humans on snow, right? That's the whole picture.
Yeah, 100%. And if you're setting that tone with the people, you're going to bring more people in. You got to find different avenues that they're like, no, like, this is going to cost too much. Like, think of a way to like, well, how can we make a little more money off of this? How can we help offset the cost of this? You know, I mean, when it all comes down to it, it's a lot of marketing. You know, it's, look at this event we're doing here, and that's what draws people in, obviously. You know.
Well, and I will say this, you know, it's really cool. We've got kind of a common theme going with the advocacy of the resort or the program and the differentiation between wants and needs. And now David just driving it home with his question. So huge shout out to him. I'd be curious too, just quickly, how many operators do you have at Troll? And maybe how many machines do you operate a night?
I've got five operators. We run
Okay.
2 cats a night. We groom about 120 acres a night. Every night. Everything gets groomed. Terrain parks, everything included. I try to run them. I mean, I kind of leave it open. Like Booty, he's my nighttime snowmaking guy. Like, he is the guy that is making the snow at night. Him and his gang, his crew. Once snowmaking's done, Booty moves into the cats, and then he's running those a lot, day in, day out. Jim is kind of my solid trail groomer. He's there all the time. And then Jameson, and I got another guy, Timmy. Those guys fill in the nights that like those guys need nights off and stuff like that, which is great. So it's kind of fluid, you know, like, I kind of stay out of it when it comes to the scheduling, as long as I know that there's someone there running it or getting in the cat and grooming. As long as it's done when I show up the next morning, I'm happy. I don't care who gets it done. If like guys need nights out, like, we get burnt out for sure. You know, that's the season. You know, you get burnt out. It's long.
Yeah. Well, and like, hiring is difficult. Like, it's a difficult thing. Maybe it's more or less recruiting at this point, but the succession plan and moving people up internally doesn't really sound like you're diving into the hiring pool too much, because you've just got returners coming back year after year. Is that true?
That's true. I mean, I've been very fortunate to have these guys and have them stick around for sure. I mean, a lot of them are, you know, Jamie works a full-time job in the summer, and then in the winter it slows down. It's where he needs hours in the cat, and he loves doing it, and it's a good way for him to, you know, keep making money and still get to do what he loves. And then Jim, he's been there for years. I don't even know how long. Definitely over 15, I want to say.
Well, what if we took it this way? What to anybody that's interested in operating equipment in the Midwest, what would you say to that person if they wanted to get in the machine or behind the sticks? Or better yet, maybe anybody interested in getting behind the sticks in the machine at a resort, what would you say?
I would say, like, if you got a cat that breaks down, like, go in and ask if you can help them fix it. Learn the machine. That's the one thing I will say, and I'm not hating on anyone else, anywhere else, but I will say the one thing I think that is very unique to the Midwest is that if you're an operator, you are fixing your cat. You know, and I know that's not a normal thing. You know, that's just like big resorts have mechanics on staff for a reason. But I will say, when it comes to operating a machine, knowing how to fix it, let alone knowing, like, understanding what goes into fixing some of these machines, makes you a better operator. Mainly because it's just like, for me, it's just, I hate changing grousers. I hate changing them. If that means I'm not doing 0 turns, every time, like, that's where they break, or driving over super uneven stuff, like, treating the cat well while you're operating so you don't have to fix it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So true. Yeah.
I guess that's the biggest thing. Like, I'd rather change a hose all day, no matter where it is. I mean, yeah, some of them suck, but I'd rather do that than change a grouser for sure. And if that means I'm easier on, like, turning and, like, making a 3-point turn or a 4-point, or Austin powering that thing around, like,
yeah. Yeah.
Not just full speed ahead, stop, 0 turn right around and go back up the hill, like, if that means I'm saving some grousers or some wear and tear on the cat, sure. Or I think you get a new respect for the machine when you work on them, for sure. And I think if you're someone that's trying to get into it, being like, nag that mountain manager or grooming operations guy or whatever, and just being like, can I get in a cat? Hey, I want to learn how to do this. Like, hey, can I, like, make the offer, be like, hey, can I come in and help you, fix this? Or if the cat breaks down or whatever, like, putting that out there, I think, goes a long way, at least in my mind.
How do you feel? Because, I mean, I've even gone on air and saying that I don't think that training programs really exist at ski resorts. Somebody can call me out if I'm wrong, but most training is on the job, and there really is no formal situation. Would you ever be an advocate for somebody, maybe if you were at a place that had a lot of turnover, or Troll, an experienced designated training operator?
100%. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, put the person that's out there running it the most, like, get them with like, if you got a solid guy, a solid operator that knows what they're doing, they're going to get, it might take them a little bit longer to get something done with someone green in there with them, but reassure them, be like, you can ask questions. It's okay. Like, ask any question you want about this thing or what I'm doing. Like, how would you do this? Or how would you do that? Everyone grooms different. Everyone builds different. There's not like a one size fits all deal when it comes to building stuff.
No, and you can take so many people's perspectives and build your own, which I think, Mahler even discussed that in his episode. And just look, call me crazy, but I just don't think that training is a cemented thing at every resort, and is what it is. I'm calling it out. Let's hit the push rope question of the day, dude. Rolling it.
row question of the day.
That's right, the push road question of the day. I'm always excited for it, especially after that intro. Let's give it to the Trollhaugen troll first. We got a bunch of people that have contributed, but
Oh boy.
the troll wants to know, when will Jim's Run be open?
Oh God. I'm gonna find that troll and dig a hole and stick him in it, or her.
Oh man.
So the backstory behind Jim's Run is it's always the last run we make snow on. And when we're making snow, we try to get as many runs open as possible right away. Spread the crowd out, get as more lifts open. You get more lifts open, your lift ticket prices can go up. Makes sense. Well, Jim's Run is a run that goes directly underneath a chairlift. It's kind of an offshoot of a main run that we have. And what sucks about Jim's Run is that you can only make snow on it when it's really freaking cold, because you got to be able to lay the guns down lower. You can't just point them straight up in the air, because then you'll just snow all the chairs, you'll snow the cable, shiv assemblies, all that stuff on the lift. And it's always the last run that gets open, and it's always the number one question that gets asked on the social media is about, when is Jim's Run going to be open? And every time I see it or hear it, I get that like little crink in my neck where it's just like, oh God, I just want to scream.
Well, I'm glad they asked, man. Yeah.
Oh man, that's a good one. Thanks, troll.
So Nick Shoes.
Oh God.
I think that's how you. So Nick Shoes has your next push road question, and he asks, how long does it take on average to fix the McDonald's ice cream machine?
It's exactly where I knew this was going when I heard that name. It takes till February. That's all I'm going to tell him.
Ryan Ruffing has your next push road question of the day.
He's a Midwesterner.
Shed light on what makes Midwest resort operations so much different.
That's a good question, because I feel like with the Midwest resorts versus like your out east or your out west resort is you have a very small crew, and that very small crew does everything, especially the outdoors. Like, you're either, for example, like our crew, and then I'm sure when he was working over at Little Swits, like, if you were a cat operator, you were also a snowmaker. And if you were a snowmaker, you were also working in the terrain parks. And if you were working in the terrain parks, you were also helping with lift department. Like, you don't just work in one department, like, you do it all. I mean, when I'm hiring guys here at Trollhaugen, or I shouldn't say guys, but just people at Trollhaugen, and especially in the outdoor, it's like, you're going to be making snow. You're going to have the opportunity to run a cat. You are going to be helping out with anything. There isn't just this one shoe, like, this is the shoe you put on, and that's the only shoe you're going to wear. Like, you got to put a lot of different shoes on, or hats. I think hats makes more sense. Like, and that's the big, I feel like, is the big difference, because it's just like, I got a lot of friends that work out west and work at these bigger resorts, and they run snowcats, or they, and there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just the difference between like a Midwest resort versus like your big out west, out east, resort. In my mind, you're doing everything. You're not just doing one thing. You're not hired to do just one thing.
Yeah, wearer of multiple hats. Super cool. Big thank you to everybody that contributed to the push road question of the day. I love the push road question of the day. Moving along, you guys have experimented with snow storage, and whether that was for a like unique marketing event or kind of making a splash during the summer, however you wanted to make it work, that is pretty unique to me for the Midwest, speaking of making things special. And so like you guys, yeah, dude, well, like, right, you guys doing that, I'd be curious to know, like what your method is and how you store that snow and what you use it for.
We started, I mean, this is the second season or second summer that we've done it. We started last year mainly under the preface of trying to hold snow through the summer to get us to the first weekend in October, which is our open house that we have at Trollhaugen. We've done a rail jam of some sort since 2005, where prior to saving snow, we would truck it all in from like hockey rinks. Living in Wisconsin and right on the border of Minnesota, there's a lot of hockey that's played around here where there's a lot of hockey rinks. And about that time is when they're doing a lot of shaving and building ice. So we would go and collect the shavings from the Zambonis, haul it back, and store it for like the weekend. Like we'd start like a week prior to the open house. Well, last year we were thinking like, man, all the snow that we have from the season after we're closed, it just melts away. So we decided to push it all into a big pile, or not all of it, but just a certain zone. Push in a pile. We covered it with hay bales, or just opened up hay bales, covered it, insulation blankets for like concrete, and then we bought a silage tarp, which if you drive by pretty much any Midwest dairy farm, you'll see this huge pile of something covered in a white tarp, and the white reflects the light from the sun, so it doesn't get too hot. The hay insulates it, and so on and so forth. And this year we went with a little different route. We put it in a different area of the hill where it's shaded year round, and we made it huge. Like, I want to say when we were done, the pile was probably like 180 feet long,
Damn.
15 to 20 feet tall, and 40 foot wide at the base, 50 feet wide at the base. To be able to keep the snow in the Midwest that long is pretty cool. We're definitely not the first people to do it. Tyrol Basin would pile up all their snow. I think they used to fill their half pipe back in the day and then cover it with hay. And then come sometime in like June or July, they would push it all out and have like this huge like summer terrain park for like a weekend or just one day, and it was super cool. So we kind of stole their idea and tweaked it a little bit, and yeah, so this year our pile's pretty big, so hopefully, fingers crossed, we can keep most of it till October.
I just think it's awesome. I think the effort is rad, and being able to produce something from snow that was made a long time ago. I mean, you're cutting costs like you mentioned for sure, but how are you guys moving it? Are you staging machine? You moving it with tractor?
Actually, we just take our backhoe, load it up in a dump truck, and then truck it over and dump it to where the zone is that we're doing the rail jam at. It's not a super big area, but the goal is to try and keep as much snow available to keep it fresh through the whole time the event's going. But the biggest thing was just to kind of cut costs on like hauling snow. Like fuel and people and just the wear and tear on vehicles and trailers, and it was an operation. Like Jameson and I we started hauling snow for that first year, and he worked for a landscape company at the time, and he was able to actually get like a landscape dump truck to go to these rinks. So we'd drive around with shovels and just shovel the snow into the back of this thing, go to the next one until we were full, and then drive it all the way back to Trollhaugen. I mean, it'd be like 1 hour drive one way, if not more in some cases. And I was just like, we got to find a better way if we want to keep doing this event. And the snow pile for the first year experiment worked fairly well. I think we got like 4 to 6 dump truck loads out of it, quad axles, which, I mean, for the first try, not too bad. We still hauled some snow in from arenas, but like definitely not as much. Just to kind of put it into perspective. But this year, I'm hoping in this new zone that we've got it in, where it's shaded, and we did these big square bales where they flake off like 4-inch thick flakes, and just checkerboarded them across the top and the sides, and then put that silage tarp over it, and hoping that works a little bit better.
Dude, I bet it does. I mean, I still think it's amazing that you guys make the effort to do that. That's so cool. Maximizing the efficiency there too. You're minimizing cost, and you're maximizing
Mm-hmm.
what you have to offer for what you're producing during the snow season. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
making snow, you're saving it. It's dope.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. There was a guy that was out there. He's just like, "What's that big pile over there?" And I'm like, "Well, that's snow." And he's just like, "What? You still have snow?" I'm like, "That snow is made in October
So
like,
cool.
of last year." So it's kind of neat, you know. And it's one of those things where it's just like, if it makes it, great. If it doesn't, we'll make it work. But as long as my biggest goal was just to try and cut costs, you know, on the trucking the snow in, because the event is so great. It's kind of like the official unofficial kickoff to the snowboard and ski season, you know, the first weekend in October out here. Definitely not like a idea we came up with. It was just more or less like, what are they doing, what can we do to help make it, you know, make our situation last longer.
Yeah, I think that's fair too. And that leads into my next question, which would be, how would you describe the Midwest snow industry resort scene for maybe someone who's never participated in the offering?
From the snowboard side, which is kind of what I've been more in tune with, is when you roll into into Trollhaugen, like Valhalla, for example. I mean, it's a rope tow, kind of in its own little area. Um, you can't access it from the chair, but like everyone it's there, it's kind of just like everyone's just there hanging out. You're snowboarding, you're learning tricks, you're feeding off other people. What's great about the rope tow is that you can like watch the other people riding as you're going up, you know. And when it comes to like the skier side of things, obviously there's a lot of the twin tip freestyle skiing in the terrain park, but just the ski racers, you know, I mean, that's such a crazy community. Like they're so tight knit, and they're all like hyped to be out there hitting gates. That's not my style. I'm not going to hate on it, because they're there to have fun just like we are in the parks, you know. And I think it's very family oriented as well. You know, like everyone's there to have a good time. Everyone's super friendly. Um, they're making the most of what they have. Like they love skiing, but they can't go to the mountains, or they can't get out there, and they have, you know, the Midwest resort to fill that in. You know, you can go lap Valhalla or like main terrain park. There's no reason why you can't get 100 laps in a day. You know, you can go put some work in and learn a lot. And I think that's a lot of the reason why you're seeing a lot of good riding coming out of the Midwest. Not necessarily just Trollhaugen, but like all the resorts around here. Kind of an experience too, you know. You come out here and you see it, and you're just like, wow, like this is. You go to like up north, you know. When I say north, like Duluth, Spirit Mountain, um, Eric Christofferson, he's one of their main park builders, and he's been killing it up there, building really good jumps, pretty good parks. Their crew is killing it. And then you get up farther north along the North Shore, Lake Superior, you got Lutsen. Um, they're kind of like the big mountain, I would say, of the area. You know, a little more vertical, a lot more terrain to cover. But then you get down into like Minneapolis, Twin Cities area, Highland Hills, Buck Hill, great terrain parks, um, very local. They got solid crews that ride at each of them. And then even reaching over into like southern Wisconsin, you know, Tyrol Basin, like they were like Tyrol was the the place to go to back in the day. Like they were like the heavy hitters in the Midwest terrain parks for sure. I remember going down there when I was younger, probably like 15 or 16 for a Forum Youngblood contest, and I was like, man, I've never been to Tyrol and I love it. Like, this is great. And then you get farther east towards Milwaukee, like Little Switz has a great park program, the Rock Snow Park, where Ryan Ruffing comes from. Those guys are killing it. And then into Michigan with like the resorts that Jeremy Cooper's working with. You got Dusty Miller and those cats over at Boyne, and they're doing a great job and making it work and putting out some really good, really, really good features. I wish I could get the time to go out there and check them all out for sure. And then, I mean, I'm kind of circling around the lake there, or the Great Lakes, but Boston Mills Brandywine and you get up way north to the UP, you got Indian Head and Blackjack and what's the resort I'm looking for? You got Whitecap, and there's just so many places to go out here. Like, you can literally drive 2 to 3 hours or less from one resort to another and get a different feel, different vibe, different resort, different terrain. It's a really, really unique place for sure.
Well, and then speaking of that unique terrain that you describe with the area that you're in, I'm going to throw a curveball at you and hit you with Jameson Richardson's special guest question. That's right, another special guest question we've got for you here on the Belay Dive. So I'm going to play that for you now. Here we go.
Hey, Adam. Remember when you and me used to live in the Team Cedar House, and you and me and Ethan Dice and Baywatch, we'd all go wakeboarding or paddle boards behind the boat and try and knock each other off. Then it'd be like a nice, calm, glassy day. We're supposed to go up to Trollhaugen, weld some rails, and of course, we ended up on the lake again. So I guess, who do you think won the battle boards, or what was your favorite trick when you were wakeboarding back then? Thanks, buddy. Have a fun time.
Jamie is the man. Jamie, backstory on Jameson, like him and I both worked at Troll when I was younger. He was getting into working in the shop, not taking over the terrain park, but just like getting more involved. And then I kind of got drawn into it, and him and I I don't even want to know the hours we put in that shop right off the bat, like building features, working on the hill, all that jazz. But to answer his questions, we lived together. We had a house on a lake just south of Trollhaugen, and we spent so many hours on that water. Like, it was like, there'd be days we get off work, and he worked in the Twin Cities. I worked up here, and it'd be like, 3:30. I'd get off work and be like texting him, like, when are you done with work? When are we taking the boat out? Because he had the boat. And he'd be like, I work 9 to 5. Like, what don't you understand? And I would rag on him all the time. And those are some of the best memories out there. It was just with him and Mike Mickelson, aka Baywatch, and Ethan Dice and those guys. And the battle boards, I don't know. I think Ethan would win them all the time because he was like this little ball of muscle that just would whoop your ass no matter what. It didn't matter what you were doing. And then what was the other part?
Well, what was your favorite trick when you're wakeboarding?
I'd have to say the tantrum, like the back roll. Not the back roll. Tantrum's different, but it's like a backflip.
Well, was there ever like a shifty grab that was kind of?
He told you. That was the go-to. Just grab the board, shifty it, poke it out as hard as you could, and I'd do it all the time. God dang it! I should have seen that coming. Thanks, Jamie.
Dude, dope. Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Slippies are great.
I loved connecting with Jameson. That was awesome. Connecting with him and just talking shop. Along the same lines, you mentioned Ethan Dice. He does have a question. I will read that to you now. Stoked that Ethan contributed to the podcast. Ethan says, Adam has a timeless tail press, and when he locks in, he goes to the end of the rail. I've always wondered which feature was his favorite to shred and build of all time. And he says he's going to guess that it was the 50-foot.
Yeah. Ethan filmed a tail press I did this year on the 50-footer. It's a pretty sweet feature to get a trick like that on, just because it's 50 feet, you know. It's pretty long, and I wouldn't say that was my favorite feature to build. I'd have to say the S rail we built, the single bar S rail we built, that one was probably my favorite feature we built. And I built that a couple of years ago. And just having like the pipe rolled and fitting it all together and whatnot. That's probably my favorite feature we've ever built. Just because it just turned out super, super good, super cool, very clean. It's one of those features that like you don't make every time, for sure, and it's a hard one, but I think that's my favorite feature we built. But lacing a press on the 50-footer is one of the best feelings in the world, for sure.
I would want to know, just kind of peeling back a little bit of a layer of you, would be what is some of the best advice that you've been given in your career or in life, and maybe how that's applied to what you're doing right now?
I'd have to say, going back to what we talked about earlier about knowing when you're wrong and being okay with it. You know, and I don't know if that was necessarily like advice that was given to me or just something that I learned over time. You know, it's like you're gonna fuck up. That's just part of life. That's just part of everything you do. You know, like failure is okay. It's just what you do after you fail is what's going to push you into the future. You know, you just got to learn from it. That's the biggest thing, you know?
Yeah, walk away with what you can use. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Deep blade dive question here. You may like it, you may not, but I want to know, man, because we have definitely dissected a lot of what you've done, a lot of you, absolutely, which has been really cool, and your perspective on so many different things with respect to the Midwest and also the industry as a whole. But would you describe yourself as a manager who knows how to execute large scale events with very little resources? And would that essentially, I don't know, be making the best out of what you've got to work with? Because, I mean, those are two totally different kind of hashtags, if we want to put it that way. But would you describe yourself as that, as somebody who's able to basically execute on a large scale with very little and making it work?
Executing large scale events with very little resources is for the Midwest resort and specifically Trollhaugen. Like, we're trying to do it the best we can, obviously, with what you have, you know, like, but what do we have in our back pocket that we can use, you know, that you pull up that Swiss Army knife, you know? I don't know if I'd necessarily say I would know how to do it. It's more of the fly by the seat of your pants sometimes.
No, fair enough, dude.
Like, you know, like there's some days where you're just like, hey, this needs to happen. And you're like, oh, I don't know what the hell to do. Like, I think part of the struggle is like the reward. You know, like if you can get through it and like be like, yeah, we did it. We fucking did it. You know, like I think that's one of the best feelings out there. Especially when you know you're like you got something didn't work, or it's I don't even know, like just that feeling of like you set something, you got that like, hey, this is what we're doing, and then yeah, you hit some road bumps. You got to go over those road bumps. You got to move. You got to push through it, and then getting to the end of it. And if you're happy with how it turned out, that's the best feeling in the world. Everything doesn't work perfect. We all know that. You know, it's this. Nothing in the world goes perfectly.
No.
Stuff goes really well, very good. You know, if you can get to the end of it and be like, okay, I wouldn't, and you don't have that like, what could I do, or this is what I would do next, or the next time, then you ran the perfect event.
Yeah, chasing perfection is almost unachievable.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I would describe you as somebody that definitely utilizes everything that is around them so that you can be successful. I would describe you as that. But
Thanks.
yeah, I would. I mean, I really would.
Yeah.
I think that you are capitalizing on things that are very relevant in the industry, that are speakable, that people can relate to. That would be
Mm-hmm.
a better way of putting it, that people could relate to, because not everybody can buy the $200 ticket to go snowboarding. And
No.
so because of that, what you offer in your area is very amazing. And
Yeah.
so why would you not want to participate in that? I mean, there would probably be other people that would maybe disagree with my opinion, but I think that in the grander schemes of what we're trying to project, I definitely think that you and what you're achieving with your team makes sense. And because of that, that's for the betterment of the industry. I think that sometimes, more so often than not, people get so caught up in the opinionated piece that things have to be produced in a certain area, and
Mm-hmm.
that greatness can only come out of Colorado, or the greatness and amazing park features can only come out of California because of what has been established. And I think maybe sometimes what results is the things that we're seeing with like, gosh, what is it called? I'm drawing a blank. Is it the interior, the plane interior, the
Oh,
project?
the interior plane project.
Yeah, like
Yes.
that even happening and even
Yeah.
existing is a true.
Pete
Oh
Pete
man,
Harvey, man, that guy, I owe him a lot. That dude, he is the troll OG. Like that dude has been riding Trollhaugen longer than you and I have been alive,
no, I believe it.
and he loves it.
Yeah, but that in
Loves
its
it.
dude, but that in itself is a testament to the future of what we are participating in.
Mm-hmm.
And you're though I mean, yes, there's a message that's there, and there's a brand, and I get all that, but the projection of what's possible with snowboarding is the ultimate. That is the ultimate, and it's coming out of fucking Troll, and that's so dope.
Right.
And it's something that you're a part of, and that it's something that you're producing today, and it's something that
Mm-hmm.
you're really securing for the future. Not to get too emotional, but
No, dude, I'm very proud of where Trollhagen and like where the team has gotten to.
Mm,
You know, not just specifically terrain parks, but just the resort as a whole. You know, like we're making improvements, like we're updating equipment, they're reinvesting into the resort, which is great. You don't see that all the time. And
no.
getting more specifically to the terrain parks too, it's just like the group of people that works on that park they're just awesome. Like I
Mm,
couldn't do I couldn't ask for a better team. Honestly, like they're so good.
mm.
Um yeah.
I'm gonna hit you with some rapid fire questions. You ready?
Oh boy. Yep, let's go.
Okay, here we go. Favorite place to ski, ride? Where are you going?
Ooh, Whitefish, Montana.
I've never been there. I would totally go there.
It's like I don't know. There's just something about it. Just gets me every time.
Would you rather change, and you kind of answered that earlier, but would you rather change a grouser or a hydro hose?
Hydro hose. Sounds weird. I feel like I'm going against the grain on that one, but
No, it's okay. Making snow or mowing the grass? What would you rather do?
making snow. Oh yeah, I hate mowing the grass. I don't know. Mowing the grass is just like you get home from work and you're just like, oh god, I gotta mow the lawn, you know? And right now my grass isn't growing because it's cooked, fried to a crisp because we haven't seen rain in like 3 weeks. But I'm so over dealing with grass.
Yeah, I would much rather make snow than mow grass. I mean, full transparency, I'm there with you. Okay, so favorite Midwest resort to ski or snowboard? Where you at?
Trollhaugen, duh. I'm biased. I don't know.
Favorite Midwest resort to ski and snowboard if you were visiting?
Welch Village.
Why is that?
Welch has got some. It's a little bit taller. I mean by taller, I mean like probably like 20, 30 feet. But they got some steep terrain and some really fun trails. Lots of good side hits.
Favorite type of metal to weld, and by that I mean, is it half-inch plate steel? Is it quarter-inch pipe, or is it aluminum?
Ooh, I would say, it's been a while since I've welded on some like really thick, heavy plate, and if you got the right setup, it's pretty fun. So I'd say heavy plate would be my favorite.
What do you think the future has to hold for the snow industry, snowboard industry, ski industry? Where do you think it's headed? I mean, you can take it down so many avenues, but with respect to resorts, terrain parks, equipment, wherever you want to take it, run with it.
Snowmaking specifically, I mean, it's already getting kind of crazy what you can do now. Just like with the automation and the technology and the efficiency of the guns is just going to get better and better. As for the snowcats, I mean, they're coming out. The Piston Bully's got that electric cat now, or partially electric, I guess. Like more of that, more efficient, more power. I think that's going to be a big thing. And then as for like just your everyday skier, snowboarder, I really think what we need to do, it's not so much like what's going to happen is like, I mean, we were seeing a trend throughout the like ski industry that like it was going down, like skiing and snowboarding was following that roller coaster, and I want to say if we want to we just got to be one step ahead of everybody else, or one step ahead of the customer. Like they don't know what they want to ski next, but maybe we should find out.
Damn. Yeah, that's deep.
Yeah. Like people get bored. It's hard to keep people entertained nowadays. And if you can keep that 1 foot, one stride ahead of that, where it keeps them interested, you're going to be better off.
Adam, I really want to take a minute just to say thank you so much for the opportunity to catch up with you, get to know you, and have you participate and be a part of the Blade Dive, man. So if you've got any shout outs or thank yous that you want to give to anybody, have at it, man.
Man, thank you, Parker, most of all. This is an honor and amazing. Never thought in the 34 years that I've been alive that I'd ever be here, which is really cool. I'm excited and very humbled, and I'm hyped. I'm hyped. It's an honor to be asked, and even more of an honor to actually have an episode. I do want to say thank you to like all my friends at Trollhaugen, the staff at Trollhaugen. You guys are great. I wouldn't ask for a different or better crew, or I couldn't find one, to be honest. And then most of all, I want to say thank you to my fiance Kate. We all know, like, working in this industry, you put a lot of long hours. You're away from home a long time, and whether you got family or kids or just a significant other, it's a sacrifice for them too when you're not around. And I just want to say thank you to her for supporting me and letting me chase this crazy road I'm going down.
Huge thank you to Adam Mahler for being this week's Blade Dive episode. It was a pleasure getting to know Adam and get some insight too into his life and career within the snow world and outside of the snow world. Within this episode, Adam and I continued to hit 3 really key points, and I'll hit them with you again just so that you've got them and you don't forget them. Number 1, you can gain experience for whatever operations job you'd like to get within this industry through just time and investing it. That's it. Time. Just like Hootie and the Blowfish. If you choose to go to school, if you choose to do the trade thing, or if you just choose to do on the job, but make sure you're getting the training you want. That's the message. Number 2, advocation for your terrain park or your operations team, whatever it is in any capacity, is difficult. But again, if you can think outside of the box, things happen. Number 3, and the last point that's huge, is being yourself. And that applies to the area that you're in too. Know your surroundings. If you've got to get creative with whatever you've got around you to add additional features to your park or create things that would work within the department, whether that's policies and procedures, etc. I mean, like, the list goes on. But be yourself. Don't compare yourself to some other resort that does it a certain way. There are multiple ways to get things accomplished, for sure. I'll leave you with that, and you know the deal. Don't be a dick. Fill your machine up with diesel at the end of your shift, please.